chatting, and so I said, I took a loan from Allahabad Bank in those days, which was like unheard of. You'd never heard of a student loan. I think I was the first guy to get it. And I landed up, and I was just speaking to my friends. I said, you guys have like a 2% interest rate over here in the US, and I'm going to pay like 17 or 18% on the money I've taken. So someone over there kind of leaked it to the dean in the academy, and they don't give scholarships there. And so the dean called me the next day. So I was really worried. I mean, I said, the dean's called me. Maybe I've done something wrong. So he goes like, we've been talking about it. So I couldn't understand what he was talking about. And he goes, I couldn't sleep last night. So like, what happened?
What have I done?
So he goes, I can't fathom that you're going to pay 18% on your student loan, and we've agreed to offer you a 50% scholarship.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, when I asked them for scholarship, obviously it was turned down, and they said, we are a vocational school, we don't give scholarship. But obviously they were like, people were in line to get into the academy, right? And this guy was telling me that it's going to give me a 50% scholarship, So it was quite things, the way they turned out and they went, it really taught me a lot. And so working in the restaurant, which in India, who would actually walk into a restaurant and wait on tables and carry, dishes out and serve wine and, kind of do all that stuff. But I got that experience. And in the golf industry, it helps because when I work with the Classic Golf Resort, I work with the JP Greens, I work at the Delhi Golf Club. So you understand the F&B operation better. You understand what the waiter is feeling, carrying a tray, or, what are the little things that you can talk to people and kind of help them just kind of get over certain things that, they have in life. That kind of connect, that came from going through all that in the US. So that was a great experience. That's where basically everything started for me. Came back. I joined Classic Golf Resort. Of course, there are some guys who were there with me who are on this list right now, who were working there with me, and would say that, the salary I started at, I think the rent for my place was equivalent to that. So when I got married, and that was another story because, for whatever reasons, and I could carry on. But I think, it's just the hard work. So, what I was earning at that time was more from giving lessons. So I would, go to work at 4:30 in the morning every day, 7 days a week for 4 years. I did that. And there was no off day. There were 16, 17-hour days. And I used to come back at 10:30, 11 at night after, reconciling all the cash in the pro shop and shutting the pro shop, driving alone on that highway, which was not the safest of places in those days. So, I'm just saying, so my weekends, my wife used to work in a school at that time. And so our off day was, she would come to the golf course with me on a Saturday early morning to kind of be with me. Otherwise, she would not get a day with me, actually. So, stuff like that. And I remember being stopped on the highway by the cops, at 4 in the morning. And they asked, "Ye kaun hai aapke saath jo baitha hua hai?" Like, as if like I was running away with my girlfriend or something. And so I said, "Meri biwi hai," So it was quite those kind of experiences. So it's been interesting. So that's where it basically started.
Wow, man, you've done some out there stuff, to be where you are today, and what you did in the beginning to groom yourself, or what taught you exactly everything that you know today. It's an eye opener for a lot of people out there who are looking at you and saying that this guy, fancy clothes, fancy glasses, fancy shades, fancy clubs, everything is good about him. And look where he started. And I mean, it's immense what you've done, JASJIT. I remember you used to come to the golf course in Calcutta while we were playing golf, and instead of playing golf, you used to walk about 100 yards behind us. And later on, I figured out that the bills for the mobile phone was just going up for me. 1680 incoming, 1680 outgoing. and who's running the bills up is JASJIT talking to his girlfriend.
It was a good investment. I got married to her, huh? So
There you go. See, you should thank me for that.
yeah, absolutely, totally, totally.
I don't know
I
who I
remember
need to
those
thank for
days.
all the money. My dad, I guess. For
I
this.
remember those days. You remember the 16th hole was in Tolly was very it was a turning point for
Jaws. It
you.
was called Jaws,
No,
wasn't
no.
it? Oh,
So when this is another thing for everyone who's watching is when
huh.
Romit was losing money. So Romit would on the 16th hole he would decide whether he's going to lose or not, right? So he's got 2 holes left, 17 and 18. So he'd say, my stomach's hurting. I need to
Yeah,
go right now. And he would exit from the 16th, get into his car, which was parking lot was there, and
And
zip
out
it.
of there, out of there.
So we knew Bharat Lal and remember, God bless his soul, and we played so much golf
Yeah,
together, and
that was a lot of fun
and
during the junior
yeah,
days.
and
Yeah, yeah.
go in the toile, and it's crazy, man. I mean, Timmy and Arjun Atwal and so many others. Yeah, I mean, we all kind of grew up together.
Right. Super stuff, super stuff. So, Jasjit, so how did it happen for you when you came back from the States? You were the first guy who ever got a degree out of the States, if I'm not mistaken, in golf management, right? So
Yeah.
when you came back, was it all easy for you to get a job? And you went to Classic, I know, in the beginning. And how did that turn out? And how did you end up at the Delhi Golf Club at the end of the day?
So I was one of the first guys. I kind of probably got a little advantage on that. But I remember coming back to India after the US, and I got a job. I was offered a job at the Classic, and the salary was like hardly anything. And so I was really shocked after spending about 25, 30 lakhs on your education, to be just getting that kind of a salary. I was, I couldn't, understand why there was such a disparity on salaries at that time. Also, with someone maybe like let's say, not from India versus someone from India.
Hmm.
Uh, but I at that time when you're young, you're 20, 21, 22, 21 probably. I went back to the US and went back to Washington to someone I knew in not Washington, but Oregon. And got a job there, but something just told me that I need to go back to India and kind of work at it again. And obviously Archana was someone, I had kind of said that I would get married to, and I wanted to keep my word. So I came back from the US and give it another shot. And I think the salary increased by like $2,000. So I grabbed it and I said, I'll have the last laugh because I'm the guy who's going to gain all the experience. And that's priceless. And that's something as a 20, 21-year-old to kind of understand and put your head to it, without anyone actually guiding you. My dad didn't
Right.
guide me, anyone. And I just went ahead and took the job and again started building my life up. So, there have been, like I started with the ups and downs of sport. So every time there have been tons of ups and downs, I'm sure, in your life and everybody's life. And it's all nice when it's on the up, right? So it's when it starts to hit the downward trend, or, you can get down pretty hard. And know a lot of people who suffered with a lot of things. Uh, that's the time when you have to actually find, your strength to get back on track. And that's what really got me back. And I learned a lot at the Classic. And I think so did the many others who were there. They were all these kids from all boarding schools you could name, and they've all done well. I mean, Aman Bhatt was there, if you remember Aman. Uh, there was a lot of guys. I mean,
Jimmy. There was
Chimmy,
Jimmy.
all these guys were in the golf ops, and so he
Amit
worked with
Deb.
me.
Yeah. Amit
Amit
Deb.
Deb,
Jimmy.
there was this Guman guy who is in the army now, and a lot of other guys. I mean, Abhimanyu was there. He also got into the golf business. A lot of people, and so I think Classic. I never I obviously would love to have got a better salary, but to me it felt that it taught me a lot. I mean,
Super.
it was those 16, 17 hours a day. John would tell me, that, a golfer's life is a dog's life. So I would tell John, I said, John, if I was in the US and the overtime that I'm doing over here, I would be a rich guy. So
Right.
we didn't have that conversation after that. But but John did teach me a lot too. I mean, great guy, and
Yeah, great
his
chap.
his,
Yeah,
his
great.
work ethic is again down to earth. We would go and open doors for all our members early in the morning. Which golf club in the world has the head pro and the assistant pro standing at the parking at the valet, opening doors for all the members who drive into the club? I
That's
mean, we
hospitality
would
for
actually
you.
be, yeah, so we would be opening doors. The kind of relationship that we built with the guys coming in, everyone felt at home. And we would
Right.
go with the caddies, picking up muck on the golf course, stuff like that. So everyone, I mean, if there was a phone, which was found on the golf course, was delivered back, to the clubhouse, and no one stole it. So there was a lot of camaraderie, a lot of teamwork, which normally in the golf industry, which is not there.
You
But
know,
we kind of got to,
it's
yeah,
surprising that you mentioned that about Classic Golf Resort. I get a call every week since this lockdown started from a gentleman called Billu. He's the caddy master at Classic. I
yeah,
mean, he doesn't have to call me, but he calls me every week to find out how I am, how I'm doing. And it amazes me. I mean, it comes out of the blue. I
yeah,
didn't expect that. I don't even know where he gets my number from. He calls me up and asks me every time, how are you, sir? How's your family? Everything okay with you? Anything I can do to help? I mean, he's the caddy master of Classic Golf and Country Club, and he calls me to find out how I am every week. I mean, it's unreal. I think something in that air over there, which kind of gives you that feeling, because Classic
yeah,
is a very, very dear part of my career, and
yeah,
I've
yeah,
always loved Classic the way it is and the way things are around it, and but tell us
yeah,
something. Now let's fast forward a little bit into your career. I know you did JP Greens, and then you came to Delhi Golf Club. You were in the junior program since 2003 or 2004, whenever you came in from uh,
yeah,
JP. But you were the high performance manager for the Indian Golf Union, as well as the national coach for the Sports Authority of India for the Indian team. So
yeah.
tell us a bit about that and how that went, and what do you think is the most important thing India lacks, or what you did at that time was so radical, or what's different then, what's different now?
Well, I mean, there have been many coaches, and there are many coaches, and everyone's good. Everyone's got their own relationship with their students and stuff like that. So I'm the kind of guy who would like try to think out of the box and not just go along with the way things work. And so when I got this opportunity, I was in fact asked that, Jasjit, would you like to do it? Or if you don't want to do it, would you recommend somebody who could do it? And I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, like, damn, I mean, who wouldn't want to be the national coach, right? I mean, or be doing something on a level like that. I'm sure, everyone would love to do it.
Right.
And, but also a little scary. I mean, especially when you've not kind of been in that zone or that arena to kind of, there's a lot of responsibility of making sure that, the players do well and everything comes about.
Sure.
So I took it and got used to the normal politics of office and everything else, apart from the other teaching that I was doing. And so what I realized, and I kept thinking to myself, and I read a lot and do all that kind of stuff. I figured that, everyone who's coming to me on the squad at that time, so we kind of redid the entire, policy of the national squad and how many people should be there, how we should choose, what are the, everything was redone, and it took us a while, but we did it. And, I thought, we got to do something different. I mean, I know, no offense to anyone, but, kids would come to a camp, there would be a coach or two coaches or whatever, and they would do their, to the best of their ability, the coaches would actually, because earlier there was, if you remember, coaches were just hired by IGU to kind
From
of do
time
a
to
camp.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to
from
do a
time to
camp.
time.
So, I mean, when you have just someone coming in, to kind of just do a camp, how much can you devote your life to just doing one camp, right? So
Right.
there was no continuity to it, unfortunately. And because I'm sure if there was continuity earlier or whatever, I mean, things could have happened otherwise also.
Right.
So I really thought that, I mean, whoever's coming to the squad, my first line in the email used to mention that you know how to play golf. So you're not coming to learn golf. You're going to experience other things in your life which you normally don't in your day-to-day, work that you do otherwise. And you and I know that, kids come for a half an hour class and they go off, or they come for a, on-course lesson or other things that we do. You really don't get into, or maybe with some kids you do once they start rising up or whatever, but getting into the other aspects of golf, like, I got a foot specialist, a balance specialist at that time. I got Ronodeep, who came from Cal as a fitness instructor, I got, like a physio on board. I got, other people, just other people in the industry or peripheral industries in sports.
In the true sense of performance.
Yeah,
in the true sense of
performance. And kind of, I put it all together and kind of made a schedule out of the whole thing. And obviously, I know the nuances of teaching golf and the basics of it. And so if there was, I kind of instilled in all the kids would come that, you're welcome to ask me something if you want to ask. I mean, you don't have to worry about that. But, I'm not going to start teaching you golf. So the entire schedule of every day used to evolve around fitness, psychology. There was other specialists who would come in, nutrition. So a whole lot of other stuff which used to happen. Initially, the venues were tough. We had like Army Golf Club, which was a venue at one point. They were shut on a particular day, and I had to actually carry, water bottles, crates of water bottles, which I would buy and bring so that the kids could get water. And then we would go out and have lunch somewhere else because the club was shut. And, in many of the clubs, they would tell you that you can't use this facility. You can only use this from certain time to time. There were a lot of restrictions till we finally got JP Greens, and we did a program where it was a residential 7-day or 6-day camp. So the kids came and stayed there, and I used to sit with because I'd worked there, and knew the chefs and everybody. So I would sit and actually work with the chefs on what the kids should get every day as food, and should it be healthy, and what is healthy, and eat all day.
So you're the guy who changed it from chicken tikka.
Yeah.
There used to be butter chicken all the time. Every national camp I used to hear.
Chicken tikka.
I was quite this thing about it when my kids used to say, sir, today butter chicken, today this. I'm like, what? You go for food?
Hot chocolate fudge.
Yeah, hot chocolate fudge and butter chicken. And I'm like, why do you go to these camps? What kind of national camp is this?
I won't take any names, but Rohit, some of your students, their parents also told me, JASJIT, how can you do this? They're coming from a national camp. You're doing fitness with them. You're doing this with them. Where's the golf? I said, listen, I mean, like, they got to be athletes first. I mean, they can't be golfers first and athletes later. I mean, it doesn't happen like that, It's just opposing everything that is there, So initially there was a lot of kind of resentment. I told the guys at the IG also, I said, listen, just bear with it. And stick with it because I know what I'm doing. I know this is going to work out. And so it started from there. And, these kids were junior camps. I remember Sarthak bought some cookies in his bag, chocolate cookies. And his dad must have very nicely put it in there. And so I had one of the other kids, I won't take any names because they'll go at each other. But so he said, sir, uske bag mein na bahut sari cookies hain. So because obviously he was not getting access to it. So then we raided his thing and we took out all the cookies and we took their phones. All the cell phones used to lie with me for the entire week, literally. I mean, they would stay there. They would eat as much as they want. We had the swimming. We had 2-3 swimming pools at our disposal. We had 2-3 gyms. We had a great infra. I mean, JP was, I must say, way ahead of the times at that time, especially I'm talking about 2011-12. And they had everything. I mean,
of course. There's sports center and stuff like that.
Yeah, without belittling anyone else. There are a lot of big builders out there, and the big builders have built some nice big golf courses. But this place had it all. I mean, the sports block and everything. So we made use of So we made use of that, and the kids really, I think, started to enjoy that 1 week where there was no distraction. They would come there, hit balls as many as they wanted. It's a nice turf driving range. So, what I kind of also then thought that, I got to add something to it because, if I'm bringing my expertise, what am I doing other than just putting things together, right? So I thought to myself, I said, whatever I do has to be quantifiable, has to be something that I can measure. So I know that a lot of these kids, Aditi and Udyan and a whole lot of them, Saqib and everyone, they all went through these processes of, doing these skills tests and stuff like that, which which is the stuff that I shared with, I'm sure, with you also. I used to send a mail with all the TrackMan results, with their, stuff that they did, and whatever their analysis was for fitness, for the physio, because, Divya was a great cook, trained, certified, so she would do all that together. Yeah, so it was fantastic. And having a physio there and making the players understand how important a physio may be in your life when you're on the tour. And you have an issue with your muscle, how it can be rectified and what you can do, what foam rolling is, and what your pre-workout, your warm-up should be, and your cool-down should be after your workout. These were things which were absolutely unheard of amongst maybe one or two kids who actually knew something about it, but they pretty much didn't know anything about any of this. The other side.
You basically took it away from just a coaching camp to maybe a high performance camp. Is that what you, I think, instilled in the system? And does that system still exist, JASJIT? Because I don't know whether it still exists. Because I think you...
So, also I figured, when you travel for tournaments, it's not like, you just travel for tournaments. It's, you are the man over there or the woman over there, whoever goes with the teams is meant to be like the coach, the father, the mother to the player. That connect has to be there, and the players have to trust in you. It's not something that, the players just going to, if you're not good and you don't put processes, you don't do camps, you don't work those hours, the player's not going to trust you because he's coming from Bangalore. He doesn't know you from Adams, So if you don't do things with the players and show them progress and help them improve themselves, in a week you can't do anything, but at least it gets the ball rolling, And if they don't have it, so when you go for tournaments, it's like, I remember Gurbani, she said, sir, if you see, that little layoff thing that she had in a backswing, sometimes was a negative for her. She said, if you see it in the tournament, I remember in Japan,
point it out.
She said, you just point it out and tell me during the round that your backswing is kind of falling down a little bit. So to have that kind of trust to kind of say that, and I've seen good players, they don't feel shy in asking. They will make sure they can use everything to their advantage. So whether it was Udyan asking me,
some of them also made you requests like ironing clothes, didn't they?
Yeah, so
because they came from families where they never had to do these things.
Yeah, absolutely. So I used to travel
with was ironing clothes.
So I remember traveling with Raj and Ridhima. So so Ridhima one day, I was talking to these kids and I said, I love ironing because I find it very therapeutic to kind of iron. So Ridhima actually took it to the extreme by telling me, sir, she got her t-shirts and she said, sir, please, can you iron this for me? So I didn't know, what to do. So I kind of ironed it for her. But yeah, Ridhima's grown up in front of me, so she's a little
brilliant.
So, I could kind of take the liberty of doing that for her. And a little short of doing someone's plat, but, which I could also do because of the cert. And,
because you had the long hair experience as well. Yeah, that's right.
So great experience. Going for those tournaments, seeing how they perform, and it's a little difficult sometimes because when you have like 4 kids in 4 different parts of the golf course, everyone wants to see your face at least, at some point, right? They're looking out for you. They don't have anybody else at that time. especially the amateur, level. It's kind of the support system is very important. And
Right.
so I would run. I remember in China, one of the golf courses, it was crazy. It was like, up and down all over the place. And I would be running between the back nine and the front nine and trying to make sure that I was there at least for 3, 4 holes with each kid. So
Right.
it was a tough one. And waking up
I
at 4 in
like
the morning and kind of seeing
yeah.
that.
I like your passion. You kind of went completely wholehearted into it as if it's your responsibility. And you took it
Yeah.
upon you kind of, that you were responsible for each guy out there. So you had
Yeah.
to spend as much time as you can with each one of them. In fact,
Yeah.
Rana ji also is remembering you. Rana Golf just mentioned.
Yeah.
JASJIT was our manager during Nomura Cup in 2014. It was an excellent trip and he was an amazing manager. So I guess he's
Thanks.
also seen this and it's coming from the national team, the amateur national team, and I think that's a great thing that it's
Yeah.
someone that with your education, the way you were brought up, things that you
Yeah.
did in your upbringing, and in America when you went for the course,
Yeah.
it was not
Yeah.
only teaching, it was a lot of other things also which you learned over there, and I think
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what you kind
Absolutely.
of imparted and shared with everyone. You were managing stats for them, I remember. You were managing their workout programs. You were managing their performance graphs. I think
Yeah.
that's what I think that was a great help, and I think that statistical backup or that kind of help for the national squads was immense.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I
See,
would I
Romit.
would be very happy when you used to send me a lot of data on my kids who were part of the national squad, and you used to send them to me saying that Romit, these are the data, and I was very appreciative of that. That because I needed that, and that was
Yeah.
great that someone was doing it. Nowadays we have
Yeah.
Upgame and stuff like that who've
Sure.
come up
Sure.
with solutions which are great. But at that
Yeah.
time we didn't have it. So you were the guy,
Yeah.
go-to man, saying that okay, fine, Jasjit, show me the TrackMan numbers. We didn't
Yeah.
have
There were
TrackMan
there
at
were
the
a lot
time.
of lot of pushing at that time. Let me tell you. I mean, it wasn't easy
Hmm.
because Tarun's company uh, had this. They had this. What is it? Hogwash golf.
Yeah, yeah, hogwash, hogwash.
Yeah. So they had the stats thing, and I took it on for IGU, and I remember. I used to push these kids to put their stats on, and it's quite a thing to kind of put your stats on
I
at that
know,
time.
I know. Very difficult.
Upgame, of course, has made it much easier to kind of put stuff in. And they're thinking so much, ahead of where it was. But
Right.
there were other guys who were in this whole thing doing it. So if you see Tarun set up down south, it's pretty good. You know, uh, not because I mean I've put Rehan there too, but
I think
but
it's
that's a
your
separate story.
Lauren.
But
I think it's a Sanarian left over there, where you kind
yeah,
of
so
put your
I
son in
couldn't
there.
send him to a boarding school, so he's gone to Tarun. No, I mean, Tarun's got a great setup. And obviously, again, we all have been through our, lives with different experiences. And I think every golf pro has tremendous amount of stories to tell. I mean, because it's such an up and down kind of graph, and the amount of people you meet on a daily basis. I mean, and the types of people. So I studied golf psychology in school, and I used to keep thinking that how do I, when will I ever use this golf psychology in my life? I mean, I took golf psychology because there were more girls in the class. So
Right.
I mean, it was it was like a thing to do. But I mean, coming down the stretch, even with the national teams, we had a golf psychologist. But I'll just give you a little insight into that. What I learned there is, you know, she would kind of take, everyone to, they would one by one go to the golf psychologist and sit with her and kind of do the stuff, and she was very good and everything. But what I noticed was that there was a lot of time taken out of the normal camp just to do this, and the kids kind of, obviously when you got hard work to do, it's easier to sit in a room and have some coffee and discuss your private life, right?
Right.
Uh,
Right.
and there's no harm with that. But when you're on national time and you need to work on something which is, which we're there for, it wasn't kind of gelling in. So, when I used to travel, I used to ask all these other coaches and high performance managers, I said, how do you use psychology? How do you use a psychologist? And all that I got to hear was the psychologist doesn't work directly with the player, if there are any psychologists out there, but they work with the coaches. And the coaches feed the psychology to their players,
Through them. Yeah,
because
that's right.
a coach knows how much to give. If you can't go to the pharmaceutical company, they're going to hand you all the all the tablets possible, right?
No, give
And
to the
everything
doctor.
there
Yeah.
is. But the doctor knows that which tablet would be ideal for you. So, I mean, that really woke me up and made me understand that, and as coaches also, I think we should work more with psychologists. And I know that a lot of high performance managers like Ireland and Australia, they get like golf psychologists working with them. They've got PPTs on their phones, which they kind of go through when they're traveling, and they pick up nice little excerpts from different things and kind of pass it on to the students when they need it. So I think that because golf at high performance, uh, you don't have the time. You don't have the your entire day is packed, and you're working in environments which are really tough because as players, you could be in 42 degrees hitting balls. You could be in rain. You could be the umpteen amount of conditions, and you get tired. So if you sit down for psychology and then try to implement it and kind of do it the whole hog, I don't see that kind of time coming out of it. But yeah, I mean, if your coach can kind of bridge that gap, I think that really made sense to me. And so that's how it kind of proceeded for that. So, I mean,
Super
that
input,
answers you.
Jasjit. Super input. Tell us another thing about what do you think is the need of the hour now? Now that you've seen it all, you've done it, you've been there. I know that you're looking out for students right now also. But what is it that is required in this country right now to get high performance? Or as a national coach earlier, how to put together people with various different coaches, under the same roof, and how should one go about it? Because I don't see a structure out there at the moment.
Yeah, so I mean, it's odd, but if you see, for example, in the fitness industry, for example, right? You see a lot of gyms all over, but there are few gyms which stand out. And the reason that they stand out is because they have systems, because they have a
Correct.
method, because they have a certain protocol that they follow. They don't go below that. And they've
Right.
got the expertise and the teams to kind of handle everything, right? So
Right.
what happens with most of us is that we are kind of we are alone in doing a lot of things, right? So especially in a day when a kid is going to school in a normal city, I mean, his entire day goes in that school, right? Literally. So
Right.
by the time he comes out and he comes to you, and then goes to for his fitness, I mean, there's little left for his homework or anything else that they got to do, right? So I'm just saying. I mean, it's a tough job. So something like a nice academy or lots of these academies. I mean, I know that you're doing a great job with US kids and getting tournaments. So because tournament golf is definitely something which is required, and the more you have it, like Aditi says, the more you play, the more you go out, the more you do stuff, the more you learn, and the more you get over those jitters of the first tee and playing tournaments in general, right? Uh, so I just feel that there needs to be more structure given to academies. Uh, if anything, the organizations, if they come forward to do something, whether it's the government or anyone, I think they need to focus more on grassroots. As you also mentioned earlier, is the pyramid, the base of the pyramid's got to be wider for it to stand pointed and tall, right? So, I
Right.
mean, more's got to be done at grassroots level. That means,
Right.
getting more new people into the game. High
Correct.
performance, everything is great. I mean, that's the very small percentage of it. But to reach there, you need to do a lot more before that to get there. So it's lot that goes in behind that. So I just feel that more structure needs to be given to it. Everything has to align up better. Whether it's the government saying something to the organization saying something. I mean, things need to just people need to put their personal agendas and vendettas or whatever that is there, put that aside and come together and kind of build something. It doesn't matter whether you take X, Y, Z, and you just need people who are passionate, people who can give the time into doing something which can benefit everybody. And there will be someone out there who will have the time and effort to kind of put in and do it. I'm not saying that I would be the best guy or you would be the best guy. I mean, you may be too busy, I may be busy doing something else. But there's always somebody who's, ready to put in that time. And we need to find those people and kind of do something for the kids who are going to come. Because otherwise,
Right.
the base is not going to increase. I mean, there are not going to be so many players coming out of the system. Just taking
Right.
accolades for anything that's happening, a lot happens on the kids doing it themselves. It's not only, and of course, the organization and everything that goes into it undoubtedly has produced champions. But I'm sure there are many, kids waiting on the lines. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
No, I agree. There can be some structure to it and systems, as you noticed, as you said, everything is very much haphazard, nothing is together. So I think through these programs also, I've been talking to a lot of guys that I otherwise hadn't had the time to interact with for a while. I've met them on a journey along the way, but we've been so busy doing our own things that no one actually, we couldn't interact too much within ourselves. But this series that I've taken out, if you've been following and other people been following, you see a lot of great stuff is in there. So the great thing is now all these guys have come together and we've actually trying to put together something which will give things a meaning, which will give people a system to go to, because they need to go somewhere. They don't know where to go. So we're trying to bring together something which will kind of help these guys. You're an expert in your field. I'm an expert in my field. There's so many different experts. Gurbaz and me had a long talk also on this, one to one. Not the chat, but otherwise off screen. And we also agreed that, just to push people to the US tour, how can we go about it? How can we get them into the right academies? How can we give them, a lot of things. I know that I've tied up with a lot of guys in America for college golf, for academic golf, for high school golf. So I send a lot of kids out there as well, to train, to transfer permanently, lots of other things, options. Because a lot of people, they can't cope up with school in India. So they need to go to a school or a system which gives them a chance to play golf. So we have options for that as well. You have options for that as well. But all the parents don't know what we do. So putting it together, like someone just mentioned over there, having seen all the aspects of golf, Arvind Sirohi said this, why don't you guys write a book on the approach junior amateurs and early pros in India need to take? Yeah, exactly my point. That's exactly what we're thinking about. And Tarun has done a great job. There are lots of things which he's doing, which is great, which is putting systems in place, not only for the golf swing, but for the residential facilities, for the traveling, way of life. There are lots of things that he's doing also, which are great. I mean, you're doing it. There are lots of other coaches doing it, but something which is a little bit more collaborative in the sense of not doing it together, but at least for people to come and take a bite out of this, put it in one packaging so that, people can say, oh, okay, you know what, I'm in Bangalore, who can I go to? So they know the go-to guy for. Someone in Delhi says, oh, my son wants to become pro golfer, what do I need to do? He can come to the panel and we can guide him who to go to and for what. So stuff like this is coming up. And, oh, there he is. Tarun has just come in. He said, I'm late. Hey, Tarun, how are you doing? So we were just discussing your systems. JASJIT loves it because his son is completely in love with your systems. And, his son always wanted to give up the phone and now he's been able to, thanks to Tarun, sir. Not that Riyaz is agreeing.
So I saw a message there, a question, sorry,
yeah.
saying that, how come, and I know that a lot of parents must be thinking that, Jasjeet is a coach himself, he's done it, himself, he knows what's going on and stuff like that. How come he sent his kid? And I had a parent come to me and say that, Jasjeet, but you're a coach yourself, so you mean you're not good enough? So I said, I mean, well, I mean, that's for you to decide whether I'm good enough or not. But I know what I'm teaching and I know what I'm doing. I've been through life in general, right? And I've been doing this for a very long time. I wouldn't be doing it for so long if I didn't know what I was doing, right?
Right.
But, every kid is different. No two kids are alike. I mean, there are kids, I mean, I'm sure many of you are kids and are parents. I mean, you would understand that, kids always, every kid has his own way of doing it. You have to find that, particular way that helps him. I mean, I'm very close to my son, right? I mean, everyone's close to the kids and everything. But, sometimes you got to take that call and see whether is he benefiting more over here? Is he, being the coach and the father? It's a little tough. I mean, I'm not the kind of guy who would really get hard on Rehan, my son, but I just needed the right balance for him. And I just felt that at this time of his life, for at least the next 2 years, I mean, he needs to be in a situation where he needs to have the basics in order. And I visited Tarun, and both me and Archana went there. And, so it's funny when we were driving to his academy, Archana keeps saying, where are we going? Where is it? I mean, it's so far. It's like 80 kilometers outside Bangalore, right? So I said, I'm feeling very happy. The further away I'm getting from Bangalore, I know Rehan must be seeing this. I'm not sure, but I was very happy that he's going to be in a place which is away from all this noise, right? I mean, look at what's happening today. I mean,
attractions and distractions. Yeah.
See how the ecosystem's changing, right? I mean, how the environment has changed in the last 1 month. I mean, there's been no pollution, no noise, no planes, nothing flying around, and you feel like, it's more animals on the road than people. I mean, it's a different system, right? And so it just shows us that we were racing towards something, crazy. And it's, unfortunately, the price that we've had to pay for this whole thing is crazy and unfortunate. But it also teaches us that, you sometimes need your peace of mind. And obviously, my son, he likes things, differently. He's a talented kid. I just felt that he needed routine in his life. He needed, to follow certain things which I could not provide for him at home, right? I mean, also being in the business, I'm teaching most of the time. I'm in the business, but I wouldn't get the time to do with him, right? So I can't be totally dedicated to my son when I've got like 20 other kids to look at. I mean, for me, all my kids are like, they're like my kids. And so at different times, I'm dedicated to, each one of them. So I just felt that, for me to send Rehan there was, as you said, something like a boarding school. But, Tarun has a great team over there. Again, coming back to systems and processes and stuff like that, which I felt was ideal. I mean, it's not that you're regressing by going to a facility where you're moving on a bicycle, between the course and the villas where you stay. The food is, really nutritious. Ryan, you've, I think, done a show with him. And he's a good friend, and I've known him for a very long time. And I know that he's putting everything into place over there for the food. So, for Rehan, for example, I mean, I'm taking Rehan as an example. Early morning, your daughter's in Vasant Valley, right? So you leave at like 6:30. Your other kids leave 6:30. Many of the kids just have a glass of milk and leave for school. You give them food, they start puking. They can't, digest it. You need time to kind of get into that thing to digest the food that you eat in the morning, right? They don't get the time. So they miss a meal, or the meal is too light and not enough for them. And they're in the growing years. So when they reach the school, luckily Vasant Valley gives you lunch in the afternoon, which is good.
JASJIT is going to get cut off in about 30 seconds. So can we end this and then restart on the other side so that we can find the end of this program?
Sure.
So I'm just going to end the session, guys, and just rejoin immediately because I'll just go live immediately. Okay?
Yeah.
There you go. JASJIT.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, as I was saying, I mean, different strokes for different folks, basically. I mean, it's something which you have to obviously kind of adjust with every child. And like Aditi, for example, I mean, her parents have been a great support system. They've been there. They've been, right through with her. I mean, and that's worked for them, right? I mean, there are people who, could have the same thing And I know so many kids who kind of dropped out, and dropped out of the game because they felt too stressed, because maybe the dad came on too strong, or something was not right, and they just fell out of the game. I mean, they didn't enjoy it anymore, right? So I'm just
Right.
saying, I mean, we all do it for different reasons. I mean, you and I are in this because we are passionate about it. I mean, not everyone's going to be passionate about every sport that you play, right? Uh,
Right.
there are a lot of guys, we all played sport, we were passionate about sport, but we were a little more passionate about golf, I guess, and we stayed in this. And, coming from a time when there was really nothing to kind of look forward to. But today, things have changed. And I just feel that it's important to have processes in place. It's important to guide parents, because there are a lot of kids who are coming in who don't come from a golfing background. Other sports handle things differently. So sometimes when you see, Sachin Tendulkar is doing shadow practice. Now that's Sachin Tendulkar doing shadow practice. Doesn't mean that Virat Kohli is also doing shadow practice over there.
Correct.
I mean, it's not the same for everybody. You go and ask all these top athletes, it doesn't happen like that. They're all different. I mean,
Right.
you see a Baba versus Phil Mickelson versus a Tiger Woods. They're three different individuals, and if I take more names that they're all different, and they handle stress, work, everything differently. I mean, I know pros who would play the PGA Tour, and they had a cutoff point. Like, they went there to play to make money. For example, I know Craig Stadler did it, and the thing was that the moment he touched, I think, $1 million or $1.5 million for the year, he would stop playing and go back home. So imagine, I mean, I'm talking about extreme here. I mean, you're playing the PGA Tour, and obviously you're playing to win and do everything. But even there are guys who are trying to earn a living, right?
Right.
And for many of them, they treated it like that. I mean, so the moment they made 1.5 million or whatever, they went back home for the entire year. Maybe in 6 months they did that, and they were chilled for the next half year, and they spent time with their families. So that's the kind of people they were. If someone told them, no, 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 you got to go play the entire year, I think they would in 2 years burn themselves out, because they were not the kind of people to play for the whole year, right? I'm just saying, I
Hmm.
mean, if you look at it, it's like that. So it's different for different people. I'm not saying, and there are different ways to succeed. There is not one way to success. You
Right.
cannot base everything on seeing one player and the way he played. I mean, if it's Anirban, for example, I mean, Anirban's, see his story. It's come, if you go back and ask him, I'm sure he'll give you a totally different version from what you will hear from maybe Arjun Atwal or XYZ. I mean, there's so many. Jeev. I mean, Jeev was a great athlete also. I mean, he would,
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
there's so many things. And I just feel that you got to just, kind of understand what's best for your child, and kind of
True.
make sure that you address those issues, because that's your kid, end of the day, right? So whatever call you take should be in the best interest of your child. I'm not saying that you don't. Obviously, all parents love to take the best call for their kids. I mean, who else would, I mean, take a, the right thing for your kid to do.
Who
But
wouldn't? Yeah. Who wouldn't?
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, who wouldn't? But the thing is, you got to do it.
Right.
You cannot expect your kid to perform like just somebody else. Either you will burn him out, and there have been umpteen amount of cases of that.
Sure.
So success can come. Success can come at different levels. There are so many things to do in the golf industry today. It's, there are so many different avenues to follow. Whether it's
Right.
Widget designing golf courses, Brandon, Rishi, Digraj, so many of these guys have started the revolution of golf tournaments, corporate events, running corporate events. Uh, Both of us, I mean, we kind of we teach, we do other things, we run tournaments. I go consult on golf courses, building golf courses, designing academies, stuff like that. I mean, there's so much to do. I mean, so I just feel that find what is right for you, make sure you enjoy it. Because if you don't enjoy it, it isn't happening. And quite frankly, for me, if my son after 2 years says that I want to become XYZ, I want to be a DJ, fair enough. I mean, that's the way it's going to be. And I have nothing against that. I mean, and speaking about it, and I'm very upfront and open about it because, I mean, I know kids who went and did law in Colombia, and I remember seeing that degree, that damn degree was so big on the wall. I've never seen a degree that big in my life, and he became a photographer after that. He just suddenly one day tells his dad that I want to do photography.
Lots of those around, by the way, JASJIT. Lots of those kids around.
Lots of lawyer kids.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I mean, if there are any lawyers, anyone there, but a lot of kids who. So it's not that it's maybe because they saw their dads do that, or because I know that their families have some connection with law, or don't have connection, but they just did it. I know another person. I won't take any names, but both his kids are engineers, and one is a journalist, and the other one is working with one of these consulting firms.
Wow.
So imagine one day they were in a family get-together, and one of the uncles couldn't contain himself. So he says, "Beta, tumne engineering ki, but tum journalist ban gaye." Like kind of belittling. Journalism is great. I mean, for me and for you, I think it's a great thing to do, right?
True.
But this guy said, you did engineering. How come you became? He said engineering mein papa ke liye ki.
Correct.
I did engineering for my dad. Now I'm doing journalism for myself.
Correct.
And his dad said, I spent 40 lakhs on your engineering. He was a little, taken aback at that point, although he knew obviously he's doing journalism or whatever. But that's when it hits you, right? That this is what the kid wanted. Imagine if he did just journalism right from day one. I mean, and not wasted time doing other stuff. I mean, I'm not saying wasted.
Who knows?
Obviously,
Who knows?
Education doesn't go wasted, but it would be so much more beneficial to the child or to anyone. So you see, like today, there's a whole lot of skilling happening. I know this because my wife's with skilling, and now it kind of clicks on me that you do all these degrees, you come back, and then you see people just hanging around and not doing anything after doing a degree from like a prestigious college in the US. So why is that happening today? It's because you didn't let your skills develop. No one kind of helped you. Everyone comes and tells you, you must do a college degree in the US, go do 4 years there and do this there. Everyone becomes like a person to guide you. It may be great for some people, but it may not be great at all for others. I mean, there are many who've come back, not, for whichever reasons of their own, but, as I said, it's not for everybody, right? So you got to find your own. You and I have, and other coaches have a responsibility to kind of look at that child, connect with the child, and understand the child, because we are in a different environment. We're not the parents. We are not, I've had kids who came to me would never get a haircut. And I made sure the kid actually went and got a haircut. And the parents told me that, what you have done is something that we couldn't have ever done in our lives because you would never cut his hair. So I'm just saying, so that's the connect you and I have and other coaches have. And I wish I had a third person to kind of, bridge that gap between my parents and me. Things would be so much easier. And and for me, I think, my son could be, you could be the third person. Tarun is definitely there and doing a great job about it. Unfortunately, with the circumstances that, Rehan's not there right now, he's go back after all this hopefully gets over. But, so that gap, that bridge is needed.
Right.
It's very important. Everyone doesn't have to go to a boarding school to understand this. There are kids who've succeeded not going to a boarding school. There are people who've succeeded not going to college. There are, it. From Bill Gates to everything.
Different strokes for different folks, as you rightly said.
You see, Warren Buffett. If you see his, from what I've heard of someone who was his neighbor in Nebraska, and said that he watches an old TV, lives a normal life. He's one of the biggest pioneers of business in the world. I
Adil,
mean,
you monkey. Adil Bedi is having fun.
Adil's doing
Adil's
well.
been with you also
Nice.
in your. So you must
Yeah,
have been
yeah, yeah.
manager of some team
Yeah,
when
yeah,
he
yeah.
went.
Adil's been there. Adil's been there. So, I mean, hats off to these guys. I mean, like Adil, for example, is dad. And
Right.
again, where it really happens and succeeds, I feel, is where the parents are also upgrading themselves to understand what's going on and what's needed, right?
Right.
I mean, you see Adil's dad, for example. He has gone and done the Trackman University.
Yeah.
He's understood what these numbers are and what they mean, and he goes to the range with Adil, stands there and makes sure this is done and the processes are in place, right? So,
Right.
I mean, he's upgraded himself. I mean, if he was doing his normal job at work, I mean, how would he connect to Adil?
Right.
I
He's the
mean,
support system himself
he's
now.
the support system because he upgraded himself. He
Right.
tried to go that extra point. And so every parent can go that extra point. It doesn't take much to do it. But you
Right.
can do some extra, learn some more, and give more advantage to your kid. I mean,
Yeah, it's like a nutrition. Like you should go and learn something about nutrition yourself, and
yeah,
then you'll
so,
be the best judge for your son's nutrition. I mean,
right.
it'll be
So,
easier that
so
way.
Aditi, for example, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, Aditi's mom,
Yeah.
Mash, I mean, been involved. But do you know that she did a course on psychology
Right.
to
She
help
did.
Aditi, help her kind of get through that part, right?
And Aditi's
So,
never needed a psychologist, and she's so mentally strong
no, but
because
that's
of
where
that.
that psychology came in, is where she knew how much to give to a child, right? She
Correct.
didn't open the entire book and read the entire
No.
book to Aditi. She just
Right.
had to help her when where the help was needed. So that is important. That is the key where, everyone comes in. So whether your parents or your, trainers or anyone, you need to bridge that connect. You need to be involved and get passionate or be with people who are passionate. I mean, I have no doubt. I mean, I could put him with Rehan, with you, and I just keep going back to that because Rehan is with Tarun, and Tarun is definitely a passionate guy.
Sure.
Okay, I mean, I'm not trying to promote anyone or do anything. I mean, I'm in the same business as Tarun is. I mean, if you come to see, and you're in the same business as I am. So, you've invited me on this platform to come and talk about certain things. I'm sharing
Sure.
some things. Aditi shared, other people have shared. So everyone's kind of come forward and shared things so that everyone else gets to gain from this. I mean,
Absolutely.
and I think it's a great initiative to do. And, in any which way that we can help someone kind of succeed, especially as teachers. I mean, that's what it takes. It doesn't matter if my student went to you or your student came to me or mine, it doesn't matter, end of the day. So when I meet my students, they're still my students, right? I mean, if you went to school, if Mrs. Mukherjee taught you English, I mean, you may have had 10 other teachers who taught you English, but you would still, till today, be considered Mrs. Mukherjee's student.
True. True.
So it doesn't cease, the relationship does not cease to exist if you move on. And as coaches, I know it's sometimes tough because, when your student tends to move on, you feel you gave so much and you feel like a little distraught, disconnected. But it's like a child gets married and moves on to his house, or a child gets grown up at 18 and moves on to his own house. How do the parents feel? I mean, you've brought that child up, and suddenly this guy's flown the nest. And as Indians, we are very, we don't let them fly too much, right? I
Com-
mean, unfortunately.
coming from a young golfer, what he's put out over there, I think is a very great thing that he said.
Yeah.
Adil Bedi says, I think a good coach doesn't pave the path for someone, they prepare the athlete for any path.
Yeah.
And I think, that is what, that's fantastic. Jas sir, hope you remember the golf camps, is Karandeep Kochar. So he's
Yeah,
also
of
reaching out.
course.
So I think that's a big thing coming from what Adil just said. I'll repeat it again. He said, I think a good coach doesn't pave the path for someone; they prepare the athlete for any path. So I think that's where this takeaway from this whole program is. And I think there are lots of good coaches out there. There are lots of good coaches to be inside parents. Parents should start, and if they're looking for things that they need to specialize in, maybe they can become the support system.
Absolutely.
Learn something that the technical teacher can't offer. Go do psychology. Go do a course in nutrition. Learn what
Yeah.
nutrition's about. Support your child
Absolutely.
in this. You'll save a lot of money doing that also, because things are expensive.
Yeah.
You can guide them on a TPI level. You can do a TPI course. Do a course in fitness. There's so many things that you can do. But I'm saying that you need to be self-sufficient in the system. It's like me or you. If I don't know something, I'll go learn it. If I don't know anything about this bunker play, I'll go learn it. I'll go research it. I'll find the best teacher and I'll go learn it. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
shame to learning, because I am a continuous student. As a teacher, I have to be a constant student. If I stop
Yeah.
learning, there goes my teaching out of the window. So I will keep learning. So, what Tarun also just put out some time back, he said system is the key word. I hope all coaches can teach the same system. Don't worry, Tarun, I haven't forgotten that line. And you know that I'm on that same page for a long, long time. But you see, we've tried. It's not that we haven't tried, but yeah, we need more people, more youngsters to come out there from the tour. Every system evolves. And the more young professionals we have out there today to teach. You asked JASJIT in the beginning, how many coaches were there? There were none. When I started, there were like 2, 3 maybe. In 1998, 99, there was nobody. And today there are so many. I mean, every square kilometer there are so many golf coaches.
Yeah.
But you understand where I'm coming from. That we've tried to do this before, but we needed the raw material, which was the coaches themselves, or willing to learn coaches themselves. Let me put it that way. Coaches who are willing to upgrade themselves. So today Tarun's out there. Tarun goes everywhere. I go everywhere. JASJIT, you go learning. We are into higher education. I go educate myself every year, maybe 2 or 3 times. But the thing is, we need more of that. And once we have that, we can put together a system where everybody can teach the same thing, backed up by knowledge, by science. Ronaldip's on the show. He would agree also that there is a lot of science out there. Earlier, people used to hit and miss, like a Babaji, you have a problem in your backswing. But no one could explain what that problem was in scientific terms. But today, people are educated. The students themselves are highly educated. With the internet and with the screen time that they have today on all the data which is going around, they understand. And if someone's bullshitting to you, they'll call you out straight away. So it's better that the teachers also understand the system and upgrade their system. I think that's the better way to go. Otherwise, it's laughable. A lot of teachers out there on the internet, I see in and day out now, people coming out with all kinds of theories. But it's crazy stuff.
It's like imagine Udyan asking me on the I think 16th or 17th hole at in Japan again for the World Amateur, and he asked me, he said, "Sir, the pin was stuck right on this par 3, and I was standing there, and he said, should I attack the flag or what should I do? And he was I think about 4 under or 5 under at that point, and this was the last round. I still remember, and he had never got. I'll tell you a little story about him. When I told him, I said, don't attack the flag, just go for the middle of the green. Because I was watching that hole and I was seeing what was happening on that hole with every group that came in and guys who tried to attack it, where they ended up, did they make up and down? I could see everything from the tee. So I told him, just go, straight for the middle of the green and play it from there. So and he finished on the 18th and he came back. He said, sir, I got the monkey off my back. People used to tell me I couldn't finish good. And I finished 5 under today. And, that kind of started him out on his professional journey. Today he's out there doing it and stuff like that. So even the best coaches, what you end up hearing with them, they're not talking rocket science with their students. It's very basic. It's trying to understand. It's trying to, kind of bridge that little thing which is needed. It could be just a conversation is all that you have. And that puts you back on track. It's not always, whether it's, 3 degrees to the right or 4 degrees left. I mean, imagine a tournament. In the middle of the tournament, I'm going to tell your student it's 4 degrees right and 10 degrees left, and it's not going to happen. I mean, it's great. The numbers are great. I've used technology. I had a launch monitor in 2000, I think.
I know.
I mean, AccuSport. I mean,
AccuSport.
And that was a camera thing, and then the thing came out, and today they've gone back to the camera systems. And I'm just saying, I mean, just see how things have evolved and gone back, and I'm like, I thought, radar Doppler was the way to go, you know. But I'm just saying, so technology is great, but again has to be used judiciously. It's not something that you continuously just rely on, or that's the end of everything. It's the experience that your coach has. It's the experience of being with other children, being with people, being able to kind of adapt to a person. That is the key for all the coaches. I mean, so regardless of who you choose, I mean, it should be the way, like, you know, if you're staying close to Ladosrai, you should be able to go to Kutub and take a lesson. You know, I mean, we should aspire to reach a point
Make it
where,
easier. So you're talking
where
the
it
same
should,
language, yeah.
yeah, it should not be that, you know, someone from Gurgaon has to come to me.
True.
I mean, it could tomorrow be just centric to where you're staying, because that's how you're going to actually use your time and effort in the best way for your child, ideally. I'm just saying, I mean, there's no offense to anyone, but, you know, you got to find ways and means to kind of, you know, help you succeed. And as we can see, I mean, of lots of people, I mean, you can't say that no one's done something. There's someone from India has reached somewhere, right? I mean, whether it's the Japan tour, where, you know, Jeev and other guys playing there, Rahil, you know, who plays there regularly. You know, there's the US tour, the ladies European tour, the Asian tour. I mean, everywhere. And we've had winners pretty much literally everywhere. So I don't think, I mean, you know, we need to kind of look anywhere, but we need to put ourselves into a better position to align these things together for our kids. I mean, I know that, you know, clubs have their issues and may or may not do certain things. But then, you know, if you have the passion, you've got to find a way. I mean, I know that I till today keep beating on certain things, even in the club or wherever, to make sure that, you know, we do something. It's not for me. It's for everybody to enjoy. I mean, it's not that I'm enjoying my golf from that. I mean, I've used the systems. I've used pretty much every kind of technology that there is. But I feel that may help, you know, the club golfer enjoy his round. I mean, you know, a club golfer coming back to me and saying, you know, today I played this. I've never played this score before. Or I beat this guy. You know, I've been trying to beat him for a long time. So the goals for each one of us is different when we play. And if you and I or other teachers and everyone, you know, you can just kind of bridge that and make sure people are happy and they have the right information, because I think, you know, wrong information is definitely not the way to go. And I know, I mean, I get to hear a lot of things when I get students to teach. And I never talk about, you know, I don't take names and do anything. But, you know, it's sad that even today, sometimes you hear some things which are absurd. I mean, you know, but I guess
As you understand, it's an evolving system, and people are all
it will
getting
evolve.
and gearing up towards improving stuff. And
Yeah. It will
industry will
evolve.
certainly look up and kind of standardize a lot of things. Like Tarun just
Yeah.
put out a request that he wants some special people inside this show. But Tarun, you see, as I said, everybody has to get on the same page. Once you're on the same page, then it makes it easier. So, but not all coaches are good. Some just drag things and lessons without imparting good knowledge. Such instances are there. How do one avoid such so-called coaches? Arvind, so this is the question coming from Arvind Kanchi. So JASJIT, that's for you. So not all coaches are good. Some just drag things and lessons without imparting good knowledge. Such instances are there. How do one avoid such so-called coaches here?
See, I feel you cannot avoid anything. You know, you walk on the road, there's all kinds of people walking down the road. It's you also walking, they're also walking. You may say hello to someone may not say hello to you. There is a transfer of, you know, of some sort happening between people, right? So when you have a coach, for example, now he's the one-on-one with you. So, you know, golf is such a unique sport which offers you that choice of playing or being with somebody you want to be with. I mean, if I was playing any other sport, I pretty much would have to just stick with what I'm, you know, whoever there is. But in a golf game, I can choose who I want to play with. Similarly, coaches. I mean, as we've been talking about all that I've spoken about, it's about the connect. If, you know, you and I have the connect, if I was teaching you, Romit, and you had to connect with me, I mean, or let's say the other way around. Let's say I was learning from you and I have to connect with you and I understand that, Romit understands my swing. I like the way he speaks. I know what he's talking about. He's got experience. He's my go-to guy. So if I build that confidence in Romit as my coach, then personally, this is my personal experience, I would stick with it. My physical fitness person is a guy called Pradeep, who used to be at Delhi Golf Club. Okay.
Right in the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, and he may not speak fancy English, right? And he had a gym in a basement. I'm just giving you a real example. In a basement in Kotla, in one of the lanes there. And frankly, that lane was so tiny and so tight that I actually swore after the first time that I'd gone there for some other reason that I would never come into this lane again. And I went there for 2 years that he had that gym. I would go there every day and park in the police station over there, but yet go in there and work bare feet in his gym. So, I mean, and when I found that this guy knew and he had that connect with me, till today I have that connect with him. I give him a call. I've come across so many fitness trainers. No offense to them. They are all good. I mean, Ronodeep was, handling fitness. He's great. He's very knowledgeable, well-spoken, well-read, everything. But then I had to find for myself, for example, a person who I can be a go-to immediately. I can't go to Calcutta to access. I wish I could, but I can't. So, and I know Pradeep, and Pradeep has been my guy from day one, whether he was in Kotla or today he's in New Motibagh Club or whatever. I mean, I just go there, and that's my guy. And so it's like, golf coaches, for example. I mean, Romit, you would know Tom Kite and, there's Ben Crenshaw and all these guys. I think Harvey Pennick was their coach, right?
Yeah.
Tom Kite and Ben Crenshaw. And when Harvey Pennick was a very simple guy, I don't know if you guys have read this book, the little red book and the blue book and the green book, I think is what he had. Very simple way of teaching. If you read that, it's very, very simple. Again, talks all about connecting with people. And in fact, when Harvey Pennick died, Tom Kite came back from middle of his tournament. I think he flew back to be by his bedside when he passed away. So I'm just saying the connect. So that is what you call a guru shishya or whatever you may call it, right? I mean, it's been in our blood for donkey's years. I mean, that's what our background has been. If you look into all the scriptures, everything talks about that, right?
The Gurukul
how you
system,
stick, so how you stick with the person you adjust to. So if you feel for a moment that you don't adjust, you got to move on. You have to move on because you have to understand that it has to connect with you. Similarly, I mean, it's hard for me to make a comment on that because it's if I felt that I wasn't connecting with someone, I would move on. And there's no love lost in that. It's just, there are nice ways to move on, but you can move on. You don't have to be in that situation and go through that just because of anything. And you can handle so many situations, so many people, and yet have your go-to guy. So there's nothing wrong with that. So, I mean, I hope that answers your question.
I think so. So another question coming from Ronodeep from Calcutta. I know you've covered club fitting. No, Rono, we haven't. So it would be repetitive, but don't you agree that choosing clubs is a hit and miss experience for members? How does a recreational golfer get clubs that suit him or her?
Okay, so the first thing that I think, club fitting, to many people have come across different types of club fitting at different levels also. But what I've noticed, I've worked with Ping, I've worked with Cleveland, I've worked with Titleist, I've worked with pretty much all the manufacturers, and I've been with Callaway for the last 10 years. What I've noticed is that the first thing, like for example, if I do a driver fitting, let's say Rono's there and I want to fit a driver for him, the look of the head has to be something that has to match the player. So when let's say, I give Rono a club, when he stands with the driver, he's got to feel confident. He's got to feel good.
Right.
So after he feels good with the look, because, today we have so many clubs out there, right? So many different heads, so many different designs, so many different, technical things that we generally know about. and generally don't talk about in a fitting session. But there is so much to those different heads. So first thing, the player has to feel confident, and after that, the fitting process starts. So it's very wrong if I would just chuck something at you and say, this is a new thing which is coming and it's going to work for you. That's not going to happen. So I need to feel confident. After I feel confident, then we work on how you are able to work with that particular shaft, because that's the engine of the club, right? I mean, if that doesn't load in and load out properly, it's not going to happen for you. And that's individual to everybody. So I think, club fitting is important. And it's, for example, I mean, as let's say Tiger Woods plays as a stiff shaft, there are many people who get inclined to play towards stiff just because they feel that a better player plays with it, I'm sure, or the ego takes over and says, I mean, how can I play with a regular shaft, or how can I use a graphite shaft? But end of the day, you got to see what what do you enjoy? I mean, if today I've been playing blades all my life, and I haven't been playing a lot of golf lately, right? So, I mean, it's not the same experience for me right now as I've had over the years. And I need the next set of clubs that I'm going to have is not going to be a set of blades, unfortunately. It's going to be something which is a little more forgiving. It's not that I don't hit the ball hard. I hit it 300 yards plus, but it's just that, I got to see where I am. And I got to not let my ego ride me and say that, no, I like the look of those blades, those new Callaway blades, which I like. I got to push back and use something easier. And the game becomes so much more fun. And I think that's that fun aspect, whether it's teaching, learning, club fitting, end of the day, it's fun. I mean, today we're sitting at home, we're missing the fun of being on a golf course, right? I mean, being there to be with everyone, have that cup of tea or whatever makes it fun for you, right? I mean, meeting your girlfriend if you have to on the golf course. I mean,
but see, look at it this way, Jasjit. So many people are getting to know so much from you sitting at home. I mean, this is also an opportunity for us to rewind, recollect, and kind of put everything together. You see, nature has also given us such opportunities. We should also see that, yes, it's a terrible thing what's happening out there. It's also given us a lot of time to reconnect and think again, as a unit as to where we can actually be and collaboratively work towards that in the future once things are much better. And I would like to appeal to everybody also through this program that please do reach out. And if you want to reach out to JASJIT, he knows a few ways of how to help people and who are helping people. He'll direct you there. If you want to reach out to me, you let me know and we'll help you out. And I'll send you to people where you can contribute your bit towards golfing staff. That is, greenkeepers, the people who actually get the golf course ready for us, the malis, the caddies, the staff, the waiters, all those guys who make our experience so wonderful on a golf course. And I think the less said, the better for these guys, because these guys really, really put themselves out there. And some of them are daily laborers, and some of them are even, the startup teachers. And these teachers have just started, and they don't get too many lessons on the golf course. They get maybe 1 or 2 lessons, maybe even in 2 days, which is for about 250 rupees. I mean, they have families to feed, and they were living a life of a professional teacher all this while, and they earned that money and took home. So even if they were taking home 10 to 15,000 rupees a month, they were doing it by teaching and imparting knowledge. But these guys are out of pocket at the moment. And do let me know, or Jasjit know, if you guys want to help out and contribute towards helping them. And we'll be more than happy in taking this forward, whether it's for the teachers or anybody else. But do reach out, please, and help out anybody you can. And Jasjit, thank you so much for being here. And you have said a lot of things here that people appreciate. And you're doing some good work, my friend. And Tarun, that request of yours, I will take on. I know you've asked for some people to be on the show, but I'm not sure I can connect to that person. But maybe you can, because you have a relationship with that person. So do let me know if you want that person on board, and I'll be happy to go through. I'm fine. Absolutely. This is the time that I've decided to reach out to everyone who's contributed. And if that person has contributed and you think that person has contributed, do let me know, and I'll reach out as well. Thanks, Jessa.
Thanks, Romit. I think this platform is very nice. Uh, it also, in this unfortunate time of ours, we're not even able to get to see people other than just the family at home. And, uh, sometimes you need to get out and meet people and kind of talk to other guys. And I think you're doing a great job to, bring it all together. At least the evenings are nice. I mean, whether I'm on it, off it, or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's to actually see and listen to, everyone talking about the experiences. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Keep
Yeah.
doing it. Thank you very much, Romit.
Thanks,
Great job.
thanks, Jess. Thanks for being on today. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Cheers. Bye
Thanks.
bye, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.